So it's halftime here on Monday Night Football. I'm from Kansas City, so I am watching with great interest the Kansas City Chiefs try to beat the New England Patriots, the evil East Coast team. We're doing it with a backup quarterback, so the chances aren't good, but it's still a fun game to watch. And, of course, the Chiefs, like they always do, you're hopeful that they might do something, but they'll fall apart in the end. But that's another matter. That's not what I'm going to talk about. But it is related to what I want to talk about. I was sitting there and I thought, I have to do this blog. And so I said, I'll just do it during intermission. So during intermission, I turn the TV on mute, I walk over here to my computer, and I pull myself out of the experience of watching this game to come do a little bit of work. And then when I'm done with this work, I'll go back to the experience of watching the game. And that causes me to think about experiencing art as well. Sports events, art, there are some similarities there. But when you go to an art event and you leave your house to go to an art event, you are there, you are in the moment. When you experience an art event in your home, whether it's on TV or on YouTube or on your stereo or on your iPod, you can always just press pause and take yourself out of the moment to do something, to answer a question, to answer the door, to answer the phone. And so there are problems, in a sense, with that way of experiencing art, because you never let yourself become completely encompassed by the art. And so I was thinking about that while I was watching the second quarter Chiefs kind of fall apart. And then I remembered that in the New Yorker a couple weeks ago, the November 7th issue, let me get that angled right, November 7th issue of the New Yorker, there is a current cinema review by Anthony Lane, and he's talking about the movie Tower Heist. And he doesn't like it, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. He talks about one of the things that makes Tower Heist so interesting is they've released it, or they thought about releasing it, VOD, which is video on demand, apparently. You pay $59.99, and then you can watch the movie anytime you want, anywhere you want. And he's worried about this. He says, well, what will happen if this becomes the norm? You release a movie in the theaters, but you also release it video on demand. What will happen? And he says moviegoers will still watch movies. They just won't go. And then he quotes these words put in the mouths of these moviegoers. Can you blame us? They will cry. Who wants to pay for a sitter, drive 20 miles in the rain, and sit in a fug of vaporized popcorn butter next to people who are either auditioning for Contagion 2 or texting to their second best friends? And the answer, he says to this, is who wants to do that? I want to do that. So then he goes on to say that Universal scrapped the idea of Tower Heist on VOD, but it will happen someday. But what's wrong with that? And he goes on to say, here's what's wrong with this. The only problem with home cinema is that it doesn't exist. Just like home art, maybe? Home sports experiences, it doesn't exist. The very phrase home cinema is an oxymoron. As you pause your film to answer the door or fetch a Coke, the experience ceases to be cinema. Even the act of choosing when to watch means you are no longer at the movies. Choice, preferably an exhaustive menu of it, pretty much defines our status as consumers and has long been an unquestioned tenet of the capitalist feast. But in fact, carte blanche is no way to run a cultural life, or any kind of life, for that matter. One thing that has nourished the theatrical experience is the element of compulsion. Carte blanche versus compulsion, something that you can pick and choose from, or something you are required to take. So he's saying that carte blanche isn't artistic, but compulsion is. One of the elements is compulsion. Someone else decides when the show will start. We may decide whether to attend, but once we take our seats, we join the ride and surrender our will. The same goes for the folks around us whom we do not know and whom we resemble only in our private desire to know more of what will unfold in public, on the stage, or on the screen. We are strangers in communion, and once that pact of the intimate and the populace is snapped, the charm is gone. Our revels are now ended. Now I was thinking about it, the same kind of thing again. My kid was reading a fact book, and he was talking about the top 3 TV shows that were watched by the most people at once, and they were all in the late 70s, early 80s. The finale of MASH and the Who Shot JR episode of Dallas. And in this day and age, we DVR it and we all watch it at different times. I was thinking of sitting in my basement in Omaha, Nebraska in the mid to late 90s that Carrie Strug moment where it actually had already happened, but I didn't know that because Facebook didn't exist and the internet really didn't exist. So I didn't know it had already happened. I didn't know how the story ended, which made watching the story while it happened a lot more fun. And imagine how much more fun it would have been if I'd been with a lot of people and gotten really excited about it. So there's something to be said for experiencing art with other people and not having the choice to check out, which makes tweeting while you're experiencing art or texting while you're experiencing art or commenting on the art while you're experiencing the art, it's a whole different thing. And I think there's room for that kind of art. I think there's a lot of room to experience art on YouTube and on your computer, so you can press pause and go answer the door or go get a soda. But there's also something to be said for leaving your home and sitting in a theater with a bunch of other people and this act of compulsion. You are, you have to, someone else decides, and you are along for the ride. There's something to be said for that. It's a really interesting idea. Again, this is the November 7th issue of The New Yorker, and it's Anthony Lane.